Do you dream of fairies and princesses? Then you've come to the right place. Welcome to Disney Coast to Coast.
Hey folks, and welcome to Disney Coast to Coast, the ultimate unofficial Disney fan podcast. I'm Jeff DePaoli, and in today's House of Mouse headlines, I talk about my experience at Pixar Fest, plus Disney Channel is coming to the Disneyland Resort, and some new Disney Parks features are headed to your smartphone. That and so much more, so let's get to it.
Hear the latest news from the Walt Disney Company in today's House of Mouse headlines.
Let's start off with Pixar Fest. As I mentioned, I went this past week right after it opened, and I get some thoughts on it. I won't spend too much time on it. I just thought I'd share some little thoughts with you. Now, the rumor about Pixar Fest, and I don't know whether or not this is true. Frankly, I'm not believing that it's true, but the rumor is that they had the same budget for Pixar Fest as they did for the 60th anniversary of Disneyland. If that's true, I gotta say, it's not really showing, which is why I don't believe it is true. But I gotta say, just from the start, the signage at the front of the parks isn't the greatest looking. It's fine, but it doesn't look great. It looks a little bit cheap. And, you know, they did line Main Street and Buena Vista Street with some Pixar Fest bunting, where they use the classic Pixar colors, and the bunting where you would normally see, you know, the oranges and for Halloween, and the red, white, and blue for 4th of July and such. And I don't know, it just doesn't look great to me. There's something about that color combo that just isn't working for me. It looks very unnatural, especially on Main Street USA. Not my favorite decoration that they've done for that. And overall, Pixar Fest just kind of feels not finished, because we've got Pixar Pier that we're still waiting for. That's coming in June. And from what I understand, they're going to start selling Pixar Fest balloons with the classic Pixar ball as the balloons on Main Street USA, which I think is a nice touch, but those aren't there yet, if that is actually happening. And of course, for Paint the Night, we still don't have the Incredibles float, as they mentioned, wouldn't be coming until closer to the opening of Incredibles 2. So I don't know, the whole celebration feels a bit unfinished to me right now. As far as the Pixar Play Parade is concerned, you know, they added some new floats, and to be honest, they're kind of half floats. None of them are very large floats. The Luxo lamp is really cool, I would say, but the ball, the Pixar ball that was kind of promised as a float, really isn't that at all. And I don't know if this was like a last-minute budget change or if they had some technical problems, but it's like 4 cast members playing with a giant blow-up Pixar ball. So it's quite different than what I think that they promoted. And on top of that, we got the new Inside Out float and the new Up float, which they're both fine. They're just very small. So they're kind of like mini floats that were added to the Pixar Play Parade. Of course, I'm very excited to see that Paint the Night is back, but as I mentioned, the Incredibles float still is not part of it. Plus, we lost Frozen's float and got the Little Mermaid float chopped in half so that it could fit on Buena Vista Street and Hollywoodland as well. So, I don't know. It's just not feeling finished to me, personally. Both parades feel like they do belong in the other parks, I will say. Like this new whole switch the park that the parade's in, it's not working so well for me. I don't know. Now, one thing that a lot of people were asking me, because I was there and on one night I wanted to do both Paint the Night and the Together Forever nighttime spectacular over at Disneyland. And the questioning was, does the timing work out? And here's the deal. I went on a night where Paint the Night was only being performed once. It was at 8:45 p.m. And the Together Forever nighttime spectacular over at Disneyland was at 9:30 p.m. And yes, it's totally doable. This is how I did it. Just make sure you ask the cast members, or better yet, if you're on Twitter, I would tweet at Disneyland Today. They seem to have more accurate information, and ask them where the parade will be starting from. The night that I went, the parade started over at Paradise Pier, or Pixar Pier, whatever it's called at the moment, and went toward Hollywoodland. So because of that, I just made sure that I watched the parade from where it started. And then as soon as it ended, I stayed personally right near the Little Mermaid ride. That way, when it ended, I could turn around and exit the park very easily. That worked out well for me. I would suggest that. I got to Disneyland with about 10 minutes to spare. Now, unfortunately, due to high winds, the fireworks were canceled that night, but they still do a projection portion of the spectacular for you, even if the fireworks are canceled. Now, they did this with Disneyland Forever fireworks as well, but it was a much shorter thing. It was kind of just the finale of that show. It was about 2 minutes long, and they showed the projections on the castle and Main Street, etc. But with this, I don't know, since I still haven't seen the entire fireworks show because I don't want to watch it online, I want to see it in person. Since I haven't seen the whole thing, I don't know if this is the full show, but it is a feature length. It was very long for just the projections and such. And we did get to see the flying house over the castle as well. They did do that. They didn't fly Buzz Lightyear, my guess is because of the winds as well. So even if they cancel the fireworks, you do at least get a full-length show still. And from what I saw, it was nice. I prefer Disneyland Forever, and still my favorite at Disneyland would still be Remember Dreams Come True. But, you know, a nice show overall, and the crowd seemed to like it. I did not check out Alien Pizza Planet. I honestly didn't even get to that side of the park. I was hopping between the two parks that day, and that just never made it to the list. So if you are going to make a special trip to check out Pixar Fest only one time this summer, I would suggest wait until June when everything's finished. That would be my suggestion. As of right now, it feels unfinished, and personally, it's a nice addition. It's something new to do, but I don't know if it particularly requires a special trip to the Disneyland Resort just for Pixar Fest. Speaking of cool events at the Disneyland Resort, they are going to be having a Disney Channel Fan Fest on Saturday, May 12th. Now, this is pretty cool. If you're a big fan of the current Disney Channel, you're going to love this because dozens of Disney Channel stars are set to appear at both Disneyland Park and Disney California Adventure. At 11:15 a.m. on Saturday, May 12th, you will see a procession down Main Street as well as live streaming on the Disney Parks blog of the Disney Channel stars. There will be panel discussions and meet and greets over at Disney California Adventure from 1 to 5 p.m. that day. They're even going to be having a live script reading with some of the voice actors from DuckTales, which sounds really, really cool. There will be appearances from people from shows like Andy Mack, Raven's Home, Stuck in the Middle, Bizaardvark, Bunked, Zombies, and Freaky Friday. So if you're a fan of any of those shows, you're going to love this event taking place at the Disneyland Resort. Of course, this is to promote some new episodes of shows that will be premiering on Disney Channel this summer. I think this is a super cool event, even though I don't really watch these shows. I just kind of wish it was like a retro version of this. If they had this, but with like MMC people and even Phil of the Future, stuff like that, I think that would be amazing. But I still think it's a pretty cool event. Now let's head on over to Walt Disney World. If you're listening to this podcast on the day it's released, April 22nd, 2018, I just want to give a big happy 20th anniversary to Disney's Animal Kingdom, which turns 20 years old today. Hard to believe. I was there in its first year, and I can't even believe it's been 20 years, but congratulations to everybody over at Disney's Animal Kingdom, and especially Joe Rohde, the mastermind behind Disney's Animal Kingdom. Now, there's a new D23 event that's going to be happening over at Walt Disney World as well, actually over at the Contemporary Resort. On Saturday, June 9th, they're going to be having a Mickey's of Glendale pop-up shop. If you're not familiar with Mickey's of Glendale, it's a store. In fact, it's the official Imagineering store over at Walt Disney Imagineering in Glendale. They do have a Mickey's of Glendale pop-up shop at the D23 Expo during those years, and they've done it at a couple other little places as well, but this is something new for the Contemporary Resort. It is open to D23 Gold members only, and you must sign up for a 1-hour window to attend this on Saturday, June 9th. These events to purchase stuff are becoming more and more popular. We've seen them at Disney Springs recently, and they seem to happen a lot. In fact, I know for a D23 event, back in like the first year, I'm sure they still do it sometimes, but you can go to the actual Mickey's of Glendale here in Glendale, California. So if you've ever wanted some official Imagineering merchandise and you're near Orlando and you're a D23 member, Saturday, June 9th is the date to check it out. Now, coming this summer to both Walt Disney World and Disneyland, we have the Play Disney Parks app. Now, what this is essentially an app that has some games on it with activities that interact with the surrounding environments in the park, mostly queue lines. This sounds like something to distract you from the wait time in the queues. Sounds like a fun little addition to the parks. Now, they have had stuff a little bit like this before in the parks. Of course, you couldn't do it on your own phone. It wasn't a downloadable app. It was with tools that they gave you in the parks. So, you know, Magic Kingdom has Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom, and over at Aulani in Hawaii, they have something similar to that as well. But this is putting it on your phone, and apparently it's going to be interacting with stuff in the parks. So it sounds like a cool little addition to the parks, I think. Speaking of your smartphones, there's a nice little thing that it sounds like is coming to the My Disney Experience app, and that is bus wait times. Now, as great as it is that each of the giant parks at Walt Disney World has their own separate little locations and areas, the problem with that is you have to deal with commuting between them for park hopping. I'm very spoiled here at Disneyland, where you literally walk across an esplanade to get from one park to another, so waiting for the buses is always kind of a drag for me. But one thing that makes it better is knowing how long it's going to be until they get there. And so now it sounds like it's going to be part of the My Disney Experience app. It's going to tell you the wait time. And also, one of the cool things is you can't always get from one park to exactly where you want to go. So if you want to get somewhere that park doesn't have a bus for, they'll tell you where you would go for a transfer and everything. So I like this addition. I think it's great. The thing I am questioning is whether this will be added for boats and monorails at a later date, because that would also be a great thing to know as well. But going in the right direction, in my opinion. Now, over at Hong Kong Disneyland, the Disney Explorers Lodge is celebrating its 1-year anniversary, and they're actually giving some exclusive offers to Hong Kong residents for this, including discounted rooms. But hotel guests celebrating their birthdays in May and June during their stay will enjoy free park admission and a series of exclusive park ticket offers for their family and friends. That's pretty cool. It's always good when you can get into a Disney park for free. I do remember the year here at Disneyland where you could get into the park for free on your birthday. The problem with this is that it kind of becomes an expectation by people. I still have people to this day, and this was probably 7 or 8 years ago that they did that whole promotion for Disneyland. I still have friends today who will be like, oh, my birthday's coming up, I get in free, right? And it's like, no, that was like a 1-year thing. So the problem is it kind of becomes an expectation by people, but enjoy it while you can, Hong Kong Disneyland. Now, heading over to London, there's actually going to be a pretty cool art exhibition there called Sounds and Sorcery Celebrating Disney Fantasia. And this is going to be happening in Waterloo, London at The Vaults, and it's happening this summer, July 3rd through September 30th. Now, this is an independent project. It's not produced by Disney, so you're not going to be seeing film clips or anything. In fact, the music from the film was re-recorded for this exhibition, and each guest will be given headphones, and you'll be walking through different art installation set pieces inspired by the film. Sounds pretty cool to me. I'm not heading to London this summer, but if any of you are, let me know. I would love to talk to you more about Sounds and Sorcery celebrating Disney Fantasia. Another art exhibit that's upcoming is Walt Disney's 9 Old Men, Masters of Animation. And this is happening at the Walt Disney Family Museum in San Francisco. If you're anywhere near there or can get there, I always highly suggest going there. It's a fantastic museum. But this special exhibit will be on display from May 17th through January 7th. And it will feature artwork and family mementos, including sketchbooks, caricatures, photos, and more, as well as original art from Pinocchio, Bambi, Peter Pan, Lady and the Tramp, and Sleeping Beauty. If you are fans of those films, oh my goodness, this stuff doesn't really come out of the vaults all that often, so it's a really cool experience. They're also going to have documentary interviews with Walt Disney's 9 Old Men, some rare pencil test videos that you'll be seeing, and I just want to give a shout out because this whole exhibition was curated by past Disney Coast to Coast guest Don Hahn, who you know from producing films like Beauty and the Beast and The Lion King and Hunchback of Notre Dame and many, many more. So I love this exhibit. Hopefully I can get up there at some point before January 7th and check it out. And finally, I just want to give a happy birthday shout out to Mr. Rick Moranis, the star of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, who this past week turned 65 years old. Rick, we miss you. That's all I'm going to say. We miss you, and I guess I'll say happy birthday as well. I also want to give a shout out to Pelkey and Mrs. Miracle, who both left 5-star ratings and reviews on iTunes. Thank you so much to Pelkey and Mrs. Miracle for doing that. You help Disney fans find Disney Coast to Coast more easily. All you gotta do for a shout out, folks, is head to iTunes, leave that 5-star rating and review. It's so simple. And before we go, I've got to get to this week's Twitter poll. Now, on this past Wednesday's episode of Disney Coast to Coast, I had Kevin from Defunctland join me to talk about Disney's Animal Kingdom since we're celebrating its 20th anniversary and discuss the opening day attractions that are no longer part of the park. So, for the Twitter poll, I asked all of you, which Disney's Animal Kingdom opening year attraction do you want brought back? And the options were the Discovery Riverboats, the Pocahontas show over at Camp Minnie Mickey, the original Kilimanjaro Safari, which had much more of a story to it than we have now these days, and the Jungle Book show. Now, the order that it went, I gotta say, I think this may be the closest voting I've seen in the Twitter poll, and the Jungle Book show got 19% of the votes. Tied at 26% of the votes, we had the Discovery Riverboats and the Pocahontas show, and then the winner at 29% of the votes was the original Kilimanjaro Safari. I'd probably agree with you. I would like to have that original story back, or at least some story with the Kilimanjaro Safari. If you want to be part of the Twitter poll and cast your vote, simply make sure you're following DIZNEYCTC over on Twitter, and you can be part of the Twitter poll every Thursday. Guys, I also want to mention that this upcoming Friday, April 27th, I will be doing a live stream Q&A for my patrons of Disney Coast to Coast. If you would like to be part of that live stream, come on in, join us, and ask any question you want of me. Head over to patreon.com/DCTC or just DisneyCoastToCoast.com. Click on the Patreon tab there and find out the different cool rewards you can get by becoming a patron of Disney Coast to Coast, including the Q&A this upcoming Friday. Also, guys, it's almost a new month already, which means there's going to be a new music playlist coming up pretty soon. Make sure you sign up for that over at DisneyCoastToCoast.com. Just click on playlist there and you can sign up to get that sent directly to your inbox. This episode of Disney Coast to Coast was produced by Philip Elke, who has supported the show through Patreon. If you'd like to become a DCTC producer or gain other rewards, more information can be found at patreon.com/DCTC. Have a magical day, everybody. Bye.
Thanks for watching Disney Coast to Coast. Have a magical day.
Disney Coast to Coast is produced and hosted by Jeff DePaoli. Learn more about the podcast and become a supporter at DisneyCoastToCoast.com.